authenticity. We are, okay, so please hold on. Okay, we are the real deal. Basically, responsibility, know what to do and just do it. Okay, resilience to defy the odds, integrity, exemplify uncompromised ethical standard, and empathy, understand and share members' experience and emotion. Agility, nimble, solution, and empower. That empowers. So the next thing that we'll talk about is, sorry, my system is just acting up. Okay, so our vision statement is to be the go-to source of competent human resources professional who redefine the practice, basically. And I believe that some of us are on the platform, you can testify to this, as we try as much as possible to equip ourselves, okay, equip ourselves, and not just the books, but we also understand the practical aspect of this work. So we have our mission statement is creating value of human resources, value for human resources professionals and organizations through coaching, mentoring, research-based learning, and capacity development programs, which is part of what we are doing this evening. Our cardinal mandate is to bring the first one is to bring the communal gap, to bridge the communal gap that exists between human resource professionals of different cadre. And the second one is to serve as a platform for learning, capacity development, knowledge acquisition, and experience sharing. Okay, so before we introduce our facilitator for today, I want us to know that just a brief announcement is that during the course of, before the end of the training session, we are going to be sharing attendance. Okay, so if you're interested, if you want to, it's important that we all wait to the end. Okay, so as we are rounding up, we'll have our question and answer. If you have question and answer if you have questions rather, as the meeting progresses, you can drop on the platform. So we'll be there to track it. I'll be there. I'll be putting my eyes through while the facilitator is going through the training. I'll be there to monitor the question, take down our questions. Then maybe as the question comes to your mind, you can just drop it. You don't have to wait to the very end. And we'll also give opportunity for people to unmute their mic and ask their questions, basically. So you're welcome to learning, okay? And like I said, attendance will be shared towards the end of the session. So I believe we are ready. So I want us to have a reaction on I want us to react our expectation basically concerning this training. Are you ready? Are you very busy? What's your, how will you describe yourself this afternoon? Will you say you're ready to learn? Will you say you're prepared to learn? Will you say you are? So I want to see our comments on the platform. Yeah, the platform is the training, the recording is on already. Ready to learn. That's from Olushola. Great. Ready and raring to go. Awesome, 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 awesome. More, ready. Yes. All pumps up, waiting for the doctor to unleash. Okay, now. All right. So without no further ado, let me just do the introduction, then we can take it off from here. Okay, so Dr. Oluyemi Adeosun is a top performing, accomplished and skilled human resource. Let me close my slide. So please hold. Okay, there's something in my space. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. So Dr. Oluyemi Adeosun is a top performing, accomplished and skilled human resource executive and researcher with over 21 years of experience across high-profile industry, including power, oil and gas, telecommunication, broadcasting, real estate, advertising, academia, consulting, and volunteer work. He offers professional expertise and a diverse range of skill within training and development, organizational strategy development, business partnership, change management, employee relationship management, and administrative expert HR role. He has a YouTube channel, which is Oluyemi Adeosun, with over 4,800 followers, which focuses on HR domain knowledge and career development. Okay. He is an awardee of Faith Institute prestigious Senior Research Fellow, that's 2024 to 2026, and Certified Career Coach. He's a member, Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, and he's a member of the Governing Council for the same institute. Okay, he's a Senior Professional Human Resources International and a global practitioner human resources too. Okay, he has his PhD in economics, University of Lagos, MBA Obafemi Awolowo University, MSc economics, same economics, University of Lagos, BSc University of Ilorin in economics too. He's currently a research fellow, Lagos Business School. Okay, so previous roles, he was the head human resources at Eternal PLC. He's a group head global Accelerates Holding. Okay, at Global Accelerates Holding. He's head employee relations at Ikeja Electric. He was the head human resources and administrative at Korea Plus Limited. He was the people manager at Russell Smith Integrated Oil Services. And he was head human resources technology. He was the head human resources at Technology Distribution Limited. Okay, he shared services, head shared services, at Feedco Limited, and he was the head human resource emotion advertisement. Okay, so finally, he also has a private experience in consulting and HR experience at Globalcom, a major telecommunication. Of course, we know Globalcom. Then he's a member of Toastmaster International and have attained the highest award of Distinguished Toastmaster, published 48 papers in reputable journals. Please, can we put our hands together for this awesome profile? Can we give a round of applause for Dr. Oluyemi? So you can follow him on LinkedIn. So maybe you drop your LinkedIn profile for people that are not following you already, so that we can follow you on. Please, let's give a round of applause to Doctor as he takes the stage.
Thank you so much for that exciting, exhilarating introduction. Just in the chat box, please confirm you can hear me loud and clear. I'd like to celebrate this great association, AEHRP.
Can hear you.
Congratulations with respect to the upcoming training session, all right, conference. And I'm happy, excited to facilitate one of the pre-conference webinars. I do not take this for granted at all. I also like to celebrate everyone on this call. You could be anywhere right now, including Owambe, party, or resting. But it shows me the value you have placed on learning and on knowledge. Again, we'll go direct to the point. So we're looking at understanding the critical HR roles, okay? And we want to create business value and impact. Please follow me in this journey, all right? So, ladies and gentlemen, what will be our learning objective? One, we'll look at evolving role of HR in modern business. We'll look at 5 critical human resource roles in depth and in detail. We'll also look at the skills and the challenges and opportunities associated with each of these 5 critical roles. We'll also consider how to balance and integrate the different roles and how to apply the 5 HR roles to create value. So at the end of this program, these are some of the things you will get. You'll be able to provide expert guidance, for example, on complex people issues to management and employees. You'll also be able to effectively manage core HR functions for organizational effectiveness. You will be able to provide accurate record keeping and management of employee data. Very importantly, critically, you'll be able to align HR initiatives with business goals and objectives. Also, today's session will be able to equip you to lead change and foster a culture of continuous improvement, help you build strategic partnership with relevant and critical stakeholders, help you identify areas for improvement in your current HR role, very fundamentally help you develop strategies, okay, to create business value. Of course, you'll be able to communicate better, and ultimately, which is the main reason why we are here, you'll be able to drive business growth and success. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to take anything to chance at all. Therefore, we'll be starting by looking at some definition so that we are all on the same page anytime we are mentioning any terminology in today's course. First and foremost, I appreciate the fact that we are most likely all HR professionals, so this may be a refresher for some people with respect to some of the definitions. HR department, okay, that's the department or function within an organization responsible for managing all aspects related to its workforce. So depending on the organization, it may be called different names or phrases. You could have people and culture, talent management, personnel management, human capital. The nomenclature doesn't matter. The important thing is that function that is responsible for managing all aspects related to his workforce. Now, if you look at this definition, you will see that there are people even outside the HR department responsible, okay? Line managers. So I say this a lot, formally and informally, that all line managers are directly and indirectly an extension of the HR department because they are helping with management of the workforce. Now, what the roles, okay, that HR function plays, first and foremost, very, very important, business value. What is business value? Again, I don't want any aspect of the topic to be ambiguous to anybody on this call. Business value simply means, ladies and gentlemen, especially for a for-profit organization, it means measurable financial and non-financial benefits that HR activities bring to an organization. For ease of reference, you may want to say, use the balance scorecard. You know, if you use the balance scorecard, you have the financial perspective, you have the customer perspective, and the other two perspectives. So in the definition of business value here, we have financial and non-financial. One key word here, it must be measurable, okay? So that we can say at the beginning of period, see, this is where we are, and at the end of period Y, this is where we have moved to, so that there will be no ambiguity with respect to whether we are making progress, we are stagnant, or retrogressing with respect to that value item. Very important. So we all know what value means now. You know, as professional individuals, I just don't want anybody to leave this course saying, oh, I'm adding value to the organization. I'm adding value in my team. I'm adding value to my line manager. Is it measurable? Can you show us the financial aspects, which could include revenue, income, or the other side of revenue, which could include cost savings, cost management, and so on and so forth? Again, another key word that we must be very familiar with and very conscious of from the very onset is the word impact. Impact. We know we hear it a lot. Oh, I want to make impact. But it's beyond the cliche. What does impact mean? It means the strong effect or influence that HR initiatives, HR programs, okay, HR interventions have on organizational outcomes. I'm pausing intentionally. There's no network issue. Initiatives can include maybe training programs. Initiatives can include maybe the HMO. The initiatives can include maybe Thank God It's Friday. Initiatives can include career development programs. What is impact? The effect that the initiative have on organizational outcomes. So where do we see the impact? How do we know whether there is impact or not? Organizational outcomes. Impacts and organizational outcomes are like 6.5 a dozen. Same of same. Are you still with me, ladies and gentlemen? What does it mean to create? Again, I said I don't want anybody to be left behind today. That's why I'm taking the time intentionally to define all the keywords. What does it mean to create? It means to bring into existence or to generate something new or valuable. What does understanding mean? It means comprehending or grasping the nature, significance, or explanation of something. What does it mean to be strategic? It means relating to identification of long-term or overall aims and interests and the means of achieving them. So when we say we are strategic, strategic means how does an organization move from point A to point B, with point B being a more desirable position or situation or context. So strategic, how do you help the organization achieve their cardinal fundamental objectives? Again, organizational success. Achievement of an organization's goals and objectives often measured by what? Profitability, growth, market share, customer base, and sustainability. Last but not the least, what's talent management? Okay, the process of attracting, developing, and retaining skilled employees. Ladies and gentlemen, in the chat box, if you have picked something so far, just drop one word or one phrase. Now, the next thing I want to move into quickly, very swiftly, so that we can understand. I am very conversant with the fact that on this call right now, let's assume that we are all HR professionals. We all work in different organizations. And those organizations are not the same. For example, when they were mentioning reading my profile, you will notice from the profile that, for example, I worked in a PLC. That's a public liability company. I've also worked in a one-man business or owner-managed business, partnership, and so on and so forth. Now, the different kinds of organization, okay, have their own peculiarities and their own nuances. So as HR that wants to add value to the business, you need to understand the structure, the peculiarities, and how to support those organizations. That's on one side, the ownership style or structure, because it impacts on the management style and the approach to get your results, to sell your HR programs, to get approvals, to get leadership and ownership buy-in, so that you can sustainably drive those programs so that you can help get results. Very important. Very, very important. And for some of us who move around a bit, maybe you change jobs, one of the things you should quickly do when you change your job, get to a new place, is to quickly understand the peculiarity there. Otherwise, you may go and copy and paste, and the kind of resistance and brick wall you will meet in your new setting may shock you. Having spoken to that, we need to realize that there are different organizational employee life cycle. Okay, and when we talk about life cycle, just to make it simple, it's just almost like a human being. You know, there's a time when you're like a baby or an infant or a toddler, then you move to, for example, teenage, 13 to like 19 or adolescence, then you move to maybe adulthood. Businesses too are like that. There are organizations, for example, the way they are today, they are what we call startup. A startup can be a small startup and it can be a big startup. Are we together? Some of these fintech, you will hear a startup and they have maybe $3 million. Is sometimes because you have a lot of funding does not change the fact that you are still a startup. So startup is not necessarily a reflection of how much money you have or don't have. A startup just means a company that is young, maybe 0 to 2, 3, 4 years. Why do you need to appreciate this? How HR functions in a startup, just like how the society helps a baby or a toddler, is slightly different from how you help a teenager or how you help an adult. I'm intentional about what I'm sharing right now because I also see this. People sometimes also want to copy and paste. You can't copy from a PLC and paste to a startup, and vice versa. Some things will not gel. The life cycle of that business there's no congruence between the life cycle. So the validity of the programs or concept notes or the implementation will not align. So you need to understand the organization and business life cycle, where you are. Of course, you also need to understand the industry. There are some things we call industry peculiarities. Now, the organization, is it a startup or is it an organization that is in growth? Growth means you are no longer new, but you are making rapid progress. Or have you attained maturity? Or are you an organization that is now experiencing a decline or a renewal? Sometimes, if you don't want to decline, what do you need to do? You need to renew. So I just need to be sure that we're on the same page. So in the chat box, quickly, can you mention one or two organizations that is a startup? So say startup and put the name of the organization in the chat up briefly. I just want to get a sense that you can follow me. Also, in your opinion, in the chat box, I need you to drop the names of organizations you think are in growth stage. Again, you write growth, then the organization. Growth, the organization. Then in the chat box, ladies and gentlemen, I also need us to write the names of organizations that we think are in maturity. It doesn't have to be your organization. Again, write maturity, the name of the organization. Last but not the least, you either pick renewal or decline, write renewal or write decline, the name of the organization that you think is either in renewal or decline. I need to ensure we are together. Again, let me recap that point. The way you will, as HR, create and provide interventions for a startup will be different from an organization in growth phase. It will be different from an organization in maturity, and it will be different from an organization that is either experiencing a decline or is undergoing a renewal. Now, there are also different employee life cycles. Okay, in the employee life cycle or employee, there's the time when the employee joins the organization, attraction, recruitment, onboarding, development, retention, and separation. Now, if you work in an organization and maybe you have 500 staff, each employee in that organization is at different phases of their own life cycle. And this is one of the things that makes HR extra complex. Because there are some employees in your organization, maybe they just resumed last month. So maybe that person is onboarding. Some other employees may be undergoing development. Some other employees may be in quotes in the retention. Some might have dropped their resignation or are now in what we call final exit period. Maybe they are approaching retirement in 3 months' time. You need to balance all the different individual dynamics and then the collective dynamics as an employee. Thank you so much, Ekene Chukuma. I was about to say, maybe somebody's not listening to me. You came through for me. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for your responses. Then, finally, we now need to also be conscious of what? The HR value chain. HR value chain. Some of the components of the HR value chain will include, but not limited to, workforce planning, talent acquisition, performance management, learning and development, compensation and benefits. Thank you so much, Emmanuel Ojoye. Thank you so much. I see your feedback. Employee relations, succession planning, and so on and so forth. So you see the business life cycle, you see the employee life cycle, then you see the HR value chain. Now you need to now be able to picture these three dynamics as we make progress. Ladies and gentlemen, as we make progress. Now, what happens in a startup phase? And this is generic. Of course, it would be peculiar from organization to organization, from sector to sector, industry to industry. So, for example, a startup like that is in tech space will be significantly different from the startup that is in manufacturing. Are we together? So, in the startup phase, for example, what's the business focus? We want to establish market presence. Most likely, on the collective, what employee life cycle are you? You are trying to attract and recruit employees. I'll mention one or two examples. So I was part of the team that was in the foundation of Konga, today's Konga. I was back then working with Simdo Shagaya in another establishment when they set up. So I was his first HR. In fact, like the first 100 or 150 people in Konga, I hired them, did their letter, was part of the interview process, sourcing, selection, everything. Now, Konga was new, as in brand new then. I mean then, not now, then. And we were reaching out to multinationals, FMCGs, and we were trying to get them to come and join Konga. This is Konga that was a brand that was maybe 1 month or 2 months old. So now want somebody to leave a UAC or a Unilever to come and join you. Do you see that the kind of strategy for attraction? Of course, so one of the things we had to do was stock options. Why? We needed established employees from other organizations to join a new, so to speak, untried, untested firm. So salary may not be enough. Are you with me? Excuse me. I hope you are following me. Now we are looking at what is our HR value proposition at that phase. Workforce planning, talent acquisition. Then if you move to growth phase, then you have what we call, what's our business focus? Why am I saying some of these things? This is intentional. Is that as HR, you must be able to profile your organization right now and say what is your business focus. Because once you cannot dimension your business focus, even if you are doing the right HR initiatives and programs, you will not be able to deploy the right solutions with the right intentionality. You won't know the aspects of your program. I'll give you an example. If you're in a startup and you are doing HMO, most likely, because it's a startup and it's tech, most likely you will have young single people. So maybe the need for HMO and the kind of, what do you call it, things you subscribe for in the HMO at that level will be different from if you are in a company that has maturity. So the way you will negotiate the HMO package, what you will emphasize that it should be constituents of the HMO will be different, because a startup firm is different from a matured firm. Mature firm most likely will have all 4 or 5 generations, baby boomers, Gen Z, Alpha, and so on and so forth. A startup may have just 2 categories, maybe Gen Z and a little of millennials. Are we together? So startup phase, growth phase. In the growth phase again, maybe a key focus can include onboarding and development. Then in the growth phase, you are very particular on performance management, learning and development, because we are growing. Now, let's quickly look at the other two phases, maturity. A firm or organization that is in maturity, what's their business focus? Maintaining market position. In other words, want to consolidate. You are trying to optimize your operation. At this level, you are battling with a lot of competition. You may be successful, but several other firms, businesses, organizations are trying to touch. As you are initiating programs, concepts, products, they are doing copy and paste. They will copy and tweak it. So at this level, on an aggregate level, what's the employee cycle you are most likely battling with? Retention. People are trying to poach from your company. Of course, some of the HR value proposition here will include, but not limited to, compensation and benefits and intensive employee relations. Last but not the least, when the firm is in the renewal or the decline phase, what is the business focus? You are either trying to reinvent, you want to diversify, you want to divest, you want to acquire, you want to match, you want to sell. What is the employee life cycle here? Sometimes it may be development. If you are trying to renew, because the employees are, because they grew, most of them grew with you from startup to maturity, they are set in their ways. They are used to, this is the way we used to do things. But because you need to renew, you may need to drop some old habits, inculcate some new habits. So development becomes fundamental. Or separation, if the organization cannot develop and they are folding up. Now, what are some of the HR value chain? Yeah, you now have things like succession planning. As the elderly people, mature people are exiting the system, bowing out maybe due to retirement or other interest in life, you need succession planning. You need learning and development. Thank you so much. I see your feedback, comments. My leader, Osaya Shukushe, thank you so much. I see your feedback, Alabi Adewale. Thank you so much. I like the positive energy in the house, ladies and gentlemen. So we've talked about 4 phases quickly, and we've tried to apply and link it to HR. Okay, the 4 phases again, drop it in the chat box just to be sure you are following. Someone just drop the 4 phases of the business in the chat box. Now, we need to integrate all of this together. The business phase, employee life cycle, and HR life cycles. It's very important. If when you align, you will now be able to get more value for the business. You will now be able to, it will be easier for you if you need to get an approval for an HR initiative. Why? When you are asking for an approval of any initiative, you are tying it to the business. So there is what we call line of sight between that HR initiative, HR project, HR program, HR deliverable, and the bottom line and the top line. So you want to be able to support the business irrespective of the timing or phase of business, and you also want to link it to the employee journey. So this integrated approach will help HR create maximum value. This is very, very fundamental. Now, after laying this foundation, we'll quickly move swiftly to the 5 key modules that we'll be treating in today's session. Thank you so much, Damlola Shofo Lola. Thank you so much, Damlola. I see your feedback. Thank you, Tobi Adebayo. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your comments and contribution. So we move quickly into the meat of today's meeting. The first thing that you need to do as an HR is to be someone, a professional that provides consulting and advisory. You need to provide expert guidance to management on and the employees. You know, when we say employees now, it could be employees as line managers, as team leads, as head of departments, as subordinates, unions, all the different stakeholders. Now, when you are providing expert HR guidance, what are some of the things you need to do? You need to offer informed advice on HR policies and practices. Ladies and gentlemen, about now, one of the hot discussions, at least especially in Nigeria, is what? the minimum wage. There are questions as to how will this minimum wage impact on the organization? Can we afford to pay? How do we, pay people? What if we are already paying above the minimum wage? You must research, study the last minimum wage when it was done. How did organizations react and respond? How did they implement? You need to soak it up like a sponge. So if you are an HR leader here and maybe you sit on your management meeting, don't even wait for your MD to call you. When you are scheduling the management meeting, if you have a company secretary or whoever is in charge, maybe it's even the HR, part of the segment should be conversation on minimum wage, even if it is 10 minutes. Highlight what the minimum wage is, highlight what the issues are. What are we talking about? Providing expert HR guidance. So which means per time, there may be 1 or 2 or 3 contemporary or burning or tropical HR issues. 1, you must be on top of it in terms of knowledge and understanding. 2, bring it to the table. 3, don't bring it to the table like a problem. How are we going to resolve the issue? Are we together? So you must offer informed advice on HR policies and practice. Again, see, if you're a Christian or a Muslim, you know what the Bible or the Quran is to you. The labor law. I say it, and I'll say it right on this platform. You need to read the labor law once every 6 months. Because you read it 8 years ago doesn't mean you know it. Time you read it, you refresh yourself, you are able to internalize it. Don't forget that any policy you are developing in your organization, no clause or section or segment of your policy must be at variance with the labor law. So there are what we call fundamental laws. When I say fundamental here, we have laws that are like statutory, like labor law, all this payee, pension, all these laws that are acts of the, what do we call them now? National Assembly. None of your own internal policy must negate all these laws. And you, as the HR professional, you cannot provide expert HR guidance if you don't know them, or if you have a surface level. And if you read something once, you will have a surface level. Sometimes people call me and say, what does the labor law say? You have the soft copy, read it yourself. Some will open up and say, Oluyemi, I've read it. But I think because I have read it multiple times and I keep reading it, I'm able to read in between the lines. And anybody on this call can get to that level. So if you read the labor law more than me, I will be consulting you on it. But don't let it ever happen to you that your employee or your management will be quoting a section of the labor law that you yourself are not familiar with, or that you are saying, are you for real? Give me 30 minutes. Let me get back to you on that. You have lost that authority as what an expert. The other thing I will say on these HR policy and practices is that in addition to the federal laws, for example, in a country like Nigeria, or in your country, I know we have members all over the world on this prestigious platform. So you need to understand your country laws. And in some countries, for example, you also need to understand your state laws and maybe council, county, local government laws. There are certain peculiarities. But in addition to that, there is also what we call ILO, International Labour Organization. And there are 2 categories to it. There are things that border around labor law in ILO. Then still with the United Nations, there are also things that border around human rights, fundamental human rights. I'm tempted to say brethren. Colleagues on this call, make sure that none of your policy, either currently or in the future you want to propose, is at variance with a fundamental human right. And I'll give you one example, and I'll move on from there. For example, just 4 or 5 weeks ago, one of our HR colleagues reached out to me. She got an employment offer from an organization in this same Nigeria. And there was a clause in that offer letter. And the clause says that she will not get pregnant within the first 2 years of employment. In 2024, please, is that not at variance with fundamental human rights? Which job or employer has the capacity, the temerity to tell a woman, I don't care whether this woman is married, single, or whatever, when she should get pregnant or not when to get pregnant? How is that the business of any employer? And then they had the guts to put it in a contract of employment that she must not get pregnant within 2 years of getting employment. Ladies and gentlemen, you can't take that to the United Nations and win. You can't take that to the courts and win. Why? It is against the fundamental human right. It's a woman's biological right. Now you can counsel her, you can coach her, maybe you can tell her why, when you have one child, wait for like 4 years, based on reproductive rights and health, let your body come together, but not as an instruction. That's an instruction that cannot hold water. Ladies and gentlemen, an unjust law is no law at all. I'll say that one more time for emphasis. Ladies and gentlemen, an unjust law is no law at all. I think I need to hasten up so that I stay within time, and I also cover everything. But I hope I provided guidance on providing expert HR guidance. You have to know. If you don't know, you cannot flow. If you don't know, you cannot guide your management. Like 2 or 3 occasions, my management wanted to do something that was clearly wrong. I called the company secretary, brought them into the picture. I said, if you do this, I will resign. Guess what? On these 3 occasions, my management boards. But why would I insist? It's because I know I am right. And when I say I'm right, not me as Oluyemi Adeosun, because of the source, the law I'm referring to. So it's not I'm right because of who I am. No, it's because of the law that I'm adhering to. And I showed to the management that, look, we will enter trouble. You will now say, Oluyemi, but you are our HR. So assist in resolving complex employee relations issues. Guide managers on performance management and development, for example, fairness, for example, documentation. I've seen somebody, they did 6 months, the manager said, no, I don't want him again. Sack him. I say, no. Our policy says, if you are not confirmed on 6 months, we need to put the person on performance improvement plan, PIP 3 months. That is what our law says. We cannot go against it. Are we together? Some people say, no, I just don't want him again. Sack him. I say, no, we cannot sack him. Say sack him. Okay, I will resign. Say, do you know him before? I don't know him before. But if you treat him this way, that's how you will treat any other employee, and it can be me tomorrow. You need to be knowledgeable to be authoritative. Provide insight on work planning and talent management. Support decision-making with what? Data-driven recommendation. Not emotions, please. Not that, I don't feel that it is all right or it will work. What is the data? What is the source? What is the reference? What are we citing? Ladies and gentlemen, you also need to act as a sounding board for leadership on people-related matters. Many instances, even unofficially or offline, not necessarily in meetings now, your MD, your CEO, all the people in the C-suite must be calling you either on phone, private chat to WhatsApp, come to your office or request for you to say, we want to do this. From HR, what do we need to do it properly? What do we need to do so that it will be sustainable? Next, you need to manage day-to-day HR functions. For example, oversee the recruitment and onboarding process, manage the compensation and administrative benefits. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to coordinate training and development programs, handle employee relations, conflict resolutions. You need to be able to implement and maintain the human resource information systems and all the complementary HR technologies. And some of these technologies are simple. The Excel can be a type of technology. WhatsApp can be a type of technology. Slack, too. Microsoft Office can be a type of technology. Okay, so don't just think of something extra. Right now, no matter who you are, there are some technologies at your disposal that you are using. It ensures smooth execution of your performance management cycle. It helps. I've seen many organizations, maybe they run January to December. By January, February, they've still not done the KPI for the year. The KPI will now come out in March. Then by mid-year, the staff will now be saying, no, you gave me the KPI in March. How do you want to use it to assess or appraise me from January to June? So when you do things professionally the right way, you will solve potential future problems. Coordinate with other departments for seamless HR. Another thing you need to do so that you can help the organization achieve value, business value, you need to maintain compliance and records. Accurate, up-to-date records. You need to maintain compliance and adherence with labor laws and regulations. All the relevant essential HR work. Now, if we remember what do you call it now? There's one table by David Ulrich. It's like the HR scorecard. Someone should remind me the name. Now, in that table by David Ulrich, there are 4 cardinal points of HR. You have HR business partner. Okay. You have the change agents, you have the employee advocate, and you have what? The administrative experts. This maintaining compliance and record is part of that administrative experts. No matter how strategic HR becomes, you still need to tidy your administrative bits. Why? Not tidying your administrative bits can put the organization in trouble. You can become subject to litigation, and it can lead to reputational damage. Ladies and gentlemen, so you must be prolific change agent, employee advocate, okay, business partner, but don't outgrow and say, the compliance and record that's not for me. If you don't provide adequate oversight and you just hand it over to an officer, which is not bad, they can mess you up. So you need to manage this by conducting regular audit of HR processes and records. I know many of us work in organizations where we have a risk management department, you have internal audit departments, but beyond their own audit, you too, as HR in your organization, every 3 months or 6 months, do your own audits. It's less embarrassing. So that when maybe audit or this ISO, whatever, come for their own audits, you'll be safe. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I can see that the 4 HR quadrants. Thank you so much. Your head is there. Again, prepare and find necessary reports. So if, for example, you work in an organization where you have expatriates, are you submitting the monthly returns to the Ministry of Interior? Are you working with your finance, for example, to make sure they are filing the tax appropriately? Are they remitting the payee appropriately? If you are doing NHIS or NHS, National Housing Fund, NHF, National Housing Fund, are they remitting as a when due? Then do you make sure that the details of your employee data, that they are safe, the confidentiality of your employees, ensure they are safe? Maybe you have a file room, is it fireproof, for example? And do you have these locks that are digital or key? Make sure nobody has on. I've seen in organizations where they allow, maybe the line manager will say, please give me the staff file of so and so. First, if I will give you that file, you will tell me what you want to take. You can't just tell me that just give me the file. In fact, I will say, what do you need? So if it is only the CV, I'll give you. Maybe the staff has medical record in the file. I will remove everything and give you something very, very basic. Don't just say, the HOD has asked, so what does he want to use the staff file for? That will determine whether, one, we are approving to give him or not. Or sometimes I will go with the file myself and say, yes, this is the file. What do you need? And take them straight to only that thing. So they don't see any other thing that may be unnecessary or unrelated. Not that you are just browsing the file like is Google. Then the strategic role of aligning HR with business objective. Very important. Participate in strategic planning session. When they are even setting the agenda for the strategy, you must be there. When they are coming with the strategy, you must be there. Then you must also develop HR strategies that are corresponding, that are aligned. So don't just at any point in time, ladies and gentlemen, just come up with 5 HR initiatives, 10 HR initiatives. No, start with what is the business objectives. Then you now ask that critical question. To achieve this business objective, you can take each HR value chain or one after the other. Do we have the staff to do this job in terms of quantity and then in terms of quality? The quantity would lead to, do we need to recruit or redeploy? The quality can now lead to what kind of trainings, what kind of development programs, okay? Are they collaborative enough? If they are not, what kind of team bonding will get them to be collaborative? So all your initiatives out. You are not doing anything for a fancy reason or just because you want to mirror what they are doing in the company and the next door. Then you now begin to design talent management programs to build organizational capabilities. Then you begin to analyze HR metrics. All your past data, you grind them, you analyze them, and then you draw insights. Why are you doing all this? Because you want to contribute to creating a high-performing culture. Then it's important to advise on the organizational design and even where possible restructuring. Some teams are too large. Some teams are too small. Some people are overseeing too many departments. Some people are overseeing too little departments. Some people have excessive workload. Some people have inadequate workload. These are some of the things as HR you need to check. That's why in some organizations, after a while, they will, for example, introduce COO, Chief Operating Officer. Why? They are trying to reduce the load on the CEO. They're also trying to use that to create like a succession plan for the CEO role. Ladies and gentlemen, as HR, you must lead change and foster improvement. Many times, in many organizations, the HR has good programs, good initiatives, good intervention. The problem is not the solution. The problem is how they are implementing the solution. I'll say that one more time for emphasis. In many instances that I've provided diagnostics, I saw that what the HR recommended was good. The problem was how it was deployed. Sometimes inadequate, poor, or complete lack of change management. So it's not just enough to identify areas for organizational improvement. You need to design and implement change management initiatives. And change management generally speaks to the fact that when you are introducing something fresh or new to a group of people, a team of individuals, because we are comfortable in the old ways, even though we know that the new ways may ultimately make our lives easier, better, it may be more enriching, something in us still doesn't want to lose that old way of doing things. So what are some of the things you do with change management? Things like trying to get buy-in, consultation, stakeholder engagement, deploying different communication means and approach, doing a pilot, maybe using one department to test it, you see the success, then you cascade it to the rest of the organization. Or if you are Pan-Nigeria, for example, you start it only in Abuja or only in Port Harcourt before you scale it nationwide. And you can also learn. Sometimes something may look brilliant, but when you do a pilot of it, you see some of the drawbacks, you shaping it, modify it, improve it. So by the time you are deploying it nationwide to a bigger, you are scaling, the pressure is less. You are more comfortable. You are more familiar. All the teething problems have been addressed when you are doing it on a smaller scale. You may need to lead and foster a culture of innovation, continuous learning. You may need to lead diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. And let me speak to diversity here. I'm not necessarily talking here about male and female. Very important. I'm not speaking necessarily of generational diversity, maybe baby boomer, Gen Z. Very important. I'm not speaking to maybe tribal diversity. It's also very important. I'm speaking about diversity of thought. Some of us are in organizations today that once the MD has spoken, or COO or CFO, nobody else talks. Or if people will talk, everybody will just say, in line with what the chairman said, in line with. Now, we must allow for dissenting opinion or for different opinion, respectfully, and let the person provide There's one organization that has a department called Directorate of the Devil's Advocates. That person's job is to speak from the other side of the consensus. And when that person is speaking from the opposite side of the consensus, it's so that even the consensus can rethink, relook. Because something looks perfect doesn't make it perfect. You need somebody to troubleshoot, to challenge, to expand, to drill down. So please allow for diversity. Politely, respectfully, what are you trying to do? If we always agree, we may find it difficult to innovate. And it may also mean that we are not embracing continuous learning, because people who continue to learn will be seeing new ways, new approaches, differences, and they will bring it to the table. It's part of HR's job to bat that kind of conviviality in the leadership and management. Then you may need to drive digital transformation in the HR processes. Anything that can be automated, please automate. As long as it's affordable, as long as it's sustainable, please initiate it. Don't let the fear of, the work will be easier, or they will say they don't need 4 people in HR. You have automated now, there should be 3. You will see that there are some HR functions you should be doing, you are not doing. Once you automate, you'll be freed up to do more meaningful, more strategic assignments and tasks. Develop and implement strategic employee engagement strategies, champion organizational values, and so on and so forth. So, as we begin to close, thank you so much, Dr. Michael Ogu. Intellectual diversity. That's a very strong term. I typically like us to have just a case study so that we can bring it to life. Everything we've been discussing in the last 40, 50 minutes. And this is a real-life case study. The HR transformation at Adobe Systems. Now, Adobe System is a multinational organization. Most of us, if you use PDF, most likely 90% of the time, the PDF you are using is by Adobe System. So it's a tech company. In 2012, they recognized the need to overhaul their HR practices to align with changing business needs and employee expectation. So from the consulting and advisory perspective, the Adobe HR team advised senior management, on the benefit of moving away from traditional performance reviews. They provided data-driven insight on employee dissatisfaction with the current system and proposed a new approach they call check-in. From the operational perspective, they implemented the check-in system, which involved training managers and employees on new processes, developing tools and resources for ongoing feedback, conducting regular check-in sessions between managers and employees. In other words, they became more agile. They were using the agile methodology. From the administrative perspective, HR updated all relevant policies and documentation. They ensure compliance with labor laws while implementing new systems. They maintain accurate record of feedback sessions and developmental plan. Ladies and gentlemen, with respect to strategic role, you can see what they did. In Adobe Systems, they linked individual goals to company objective, developed a more agile performance management approach to support rapid innovation. They used data from the new system to inform talent management strategies. Then they championed a shift from annual reviews to ongoing conversations, because 1 year is too long to know whether somebody is doing well or not doing well. It's too late. From a business impact perspective, they fostered a culture of continuous feedback and development. They, brought in the check-in process, which was more frequent. So some of their key achievements at Adobe Systems: 80% reduction in involuntary departure. Involuntary departure means people that you have to let go by yourself, maybe for performance issues. But once they changed the performance process, they were able to identify a staff needed a learning intervention, coaching, mentorship, or did not understand the job description, and they were able to solve it rather than wait for 1 year. So before it causes damage, they've remedied it. 30% decrease in involuntary attrition, increased employee engagement scores, enhanced ability to retain and develop talent, increased organizational agility and innovation. So by deploying all the 5 strategic roles of HR, they were able to achieve that. And that is what we hope this webinar will do for you. So as we round up, let me just recap. Strategic partner aligns HR initiative with business objective. Very key. HR initiative must map business initiative, must contribute to the long-term organizational planning. You must provide data and insights for decision-making, not feeling, not in company B, they are doing, why are they doing it? What is the result? What is the consequence? As a change agent, you must lead organizational transformation initiative, facilitate cultural shifts and adaptability, manage resistance and ensure smooth transitions as employee champion. So this is the 4 quadrants, facilitated by David Ulrich. Advocate for employee well-being and engagement, develop programs to enhance employee performance, foster a positive work experience. Again, administrative experts ensure efficient HR operations and compliance, implement and optimize HR technology, manage HR data and conduct. You cannot afford to be lacking or lagging in any of these 4. You must do it well so that you optimize value for the organization. So don't forget, we are still recapping now. We are rounding up, coasting up. Talent manager, attract, develop, and retain top talent. Design effective performance management system. You need to create succession planning strategies so that you can retain knowledge in the organization. Don't want the exit of people to lead to a compromise of your capabilities to innovate, to create products, design, develop products, or sustain your existing infrastructure and client base. Innovation catalyst, promote creative problem solving in HR, introduce new HR, and so on and so forth. Business advisor, provide expertise on people-related business issues, offer solutions to complex organizational challenges, support leaders in making what? Informed decisions. So you must go prepared for every meeting. HR, before you go to the next meeting, the last meeting, read the minutes, check through. What are the people implications? What are the people solutions? Say, oh, when they say O, B, add value. When finance speaks, question it, ask questions, provide suggestions. Don't just be, I'm just minding my business. No, the people business is everybody's business, and everybody's business is a people business. Okay, very, very important, because you want to ensure that as an HR, you balance your roles to create tangible business value. Okay, so it's very, very important that you measure these values. It's very, very important that you map it, you link it, you connect it, and it's very, very important that you report it. Okay, don't wait until they ask for your reports. Create HR quarterly reports, HR biannual report, HR annual reports. Send it to the CEO, send it to the C-level. Let people know what you are doing. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I've been able to add some value within the constraint of the time allotted to this program. I would like to invite the moderator to please come back, join me, okay, so that we can take contributions, question, and answer. Already I see my boss and I recognize it. Dr. Michael, please go ahead, sir.
Okay, sir.
All right. Good evening, Dr. Adeosun. Dr. Adeosun, this one you are calling me boss, it is well. But thank you so much for joining the call and honoring our invitation. On behalf of AHRP, the leadership and members, we thank you. This has been an insightful session. Just wanted to add my voice. And their colleagues on the call, Dr. Adeosun has broken down the 5 critical roles that will ensure we add value to our business. And starting from the definition of concepts, I was able to see how it also took us through, the employee life cycle, the business cycle, and the HR cycle. And so it's very important that we pay attention to these 5 roles. He mentioned them, the consulting and advisory role, which focuses on providing expert HR knowledge and guidance. And you cannot do that from a place of ignorance. And that's why you must continue to reskill and upskill. We've had this session. How many people are on the call? I ask myself, how many people are hungry to upskill? People will not trust you with big decisions if you have not managed small decisions. And part of managing small decisions is that you are able to provide guidance and knowledge that will help the business. From the operational perspective, the operational role, managing day-to-day HR operations, partnering with line managers, demonstrating that we understand the pulse of the line managers. Then the administrative role he mentioned, managing records and compliance. And Dr. Adeosun, I've been embarrassed in a meeting in the past where I presented, inaccurate records. I was totally embarrassed. So I can understand the importance of the administrative role. It may look trivial. While we are not at senior level, while we are not the one who enters the data, we must ensure that the data is accurate. So integrity of the data. Then, of course, the strategic HR role, aligning what we do with the business strategy and the business focus. Do we understand the drivers of business in our industry? Do we understand what makes or what contributes to the top line and bottom line? And like you said, one strategy will affect or impact one organization. It may not necessarily impact the other because they are different stages of their maturity. And then lastly, you talked about the transformational role. And I think that's the one that hit me the most, which has to do with ensuring that we can lead change successfully. So in addition, Dr. Adeosun, I would say that it's important for HR practitioners to understand that these 5 roles you have discussed with us are intertwined. And so you must continue to upskill to ensure that you can use these roles to add value. That would be my contribution. And thank you so much once again, Dr. Adeosun.
Thank you so much, elected council member. Madam Moderator, I know you are now in charge, but indulge, let us take Elder Osaya Shukushe. Yes. Is a senior man in HR, please. Thank you.
Okay, no problem, sir. All right, so over to you, sir.
Mr. Osaya, you can speak, sir. Okay, I don't know if he's having network challenges, but yes, if he's not able to speak just yet, you can take the floor. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Please, can we give a round of applause to
Dr. The host of...
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, I think he's here.
Yes, I've been allowed to speak now. Thank you, Doctor, for these lectures, very explicit, and for those of us who are all in the profession, it's a reminder of so many things. And I have two or three things, their advice to the young ones. The first one is that you shouldn't be a specialist in HR when you are just starting or maybe a few years. Please, I advise that you should become a generalist. Doctor is a generalist because every aspect, every area of HR he has taught. So he has worked in those areas because that was what happened to me. 30 years ago, I drafted a condition of service for an organization that I left 23 years after. They called me when they run into problems to be able to explain certain things and to be able to help them. The second thing I want to say, emphasizing the need for people to be generalists before you specialize. Well, I work in an organization that I also started the HR unit, and everything I handled, including insurance, general insurance of the organization was under HR. So some of the staff felt that, especially the person that handled insurance, felt that, well, that is not part, HR is not part of her duties. Anytime I give her anything about HR, she will bring excuse that she is so much busy in her own work and rest. But at the end of the day, when I left, I retired and I established my own consultancy. She was among the people that was sent for me to train her. And the training was how many? Just 1 week. This was something that she would have learned many years. And I worked with her for more than 15 years. She couldn't learn. So the person that took over from me discovered that that person is not an HR person, doesn't know so much about HR. So please, I want to plead with you, young professionals. You should be able to find a way of trying to see if you can touch every area of HR in your organization. And then finally, I want to add my voice to ECM's appreciating Doctor for these lectures. And somebody wrote before that there should be part 2. And I believe the management should consider that, so that part 2 of it will now be more helpful than this one too, because most of the things that he has said, for people who are not generalists, may have missed a lot, but that one will be able to help them. Thank you once again for this opportunity. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much. So we've had people already clapping their hands in the chat box. So thank you very much, Doctor, for this. So before we specialize, like Mr. Ozea said, we should be a generalist, learn from every angle. And that is why we're having these sessions. And Doctor already mentioned that the part 2 of this class is going to be paid. So please, let's prepare for that. Let's prepare towards that and keep the money. Okay, so another announcement on this call is the annual conference. The annual conference is around the corner. Please, if you have not registered, it's very, very important that you do so. Okay, the annual conference is coming up next month. So it's coming up next month. We have line up facilitators. You really don't want to miss it. So for members, it's 50,000. That's AEHRP members, and non-members is 60,000 naira. So it's very important that I'll be sharing the link. Please, can we get the link? Okay, so for the attendance, we'll be using the Zoom attendance to capture that. Okay, but if you want the certificate, okay, like it's already posted, this session has been approved by HR Certificate Institute for 3 business recertification credits. So claim your credits and the certificate of attendance. So there's a link in the chat box. Let me repost that so that people can click. But we'll be using the attendance. Okay, thank you for the link. So the link to the conference is already posted. Kindly click on it and register. It's very important. So it'll be coming up next month. So let's register. That's 29th to 31st. It is very, very important that we register for this. So share with your colleagues, share with your employer. Let's come to learn together. Okay, it's going to be a session that you really don't want to miss. So thank you everyone for coming. So I'll hand over to Dr. Michael Ogu once again to for his appreciation and vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
All right, thank you so much, Oluyemi, and fantastic moderation today. Once again, let me extend our warmest appreciation and highest regards to Dr. Adeosun. He's a friend, he's a colleague. We are both elected council members of CIPM. They always call us the doctors. So Dr. Adeosun, thank you so much. Very insightful session. Our colleagues have requested for a part 2. We will definitely ask you to come back for a part 2, maybe to be a smaller class. Just to re-emphasize, all AHRP learning programs are free. We don't ask people to pay for programs. But if you want the certificate of that program, you will need to pay for it because we renew our HRCI license on an annual basis. So it is those funds that are used to renew the license. And like the moderator said, today's session has been approved for 3 business recertification units. If you have either APHRI, PHRI, SPHRI, GPHRI, even SHRM, CP or SCP, you don't need to go too far. If you consistently attend our programs for 6 months, you will get your 60 units. This year, we've had global units. I've gotten all my global units this year. I've gotten all my business units. I've gotten my ethics units. I've gotten all my general units. So you don't need to sleep on the opportunity. So I will encourage everyone, today's training, particularly part 1, is one certificate you should have. So ensure you pay, not because I'm the global president of HRP, but ensure that you get your certificate. I ensure I get my certificates for every session, and I keep them. They are a reminder that I am continuously reskilling and upskilling. And then about the annual conference, this is our 7th edition of the annual conference. Every year, it's a notch higher than the previous year. And I can tell you the lineup of speakers this year, the sessions, just go to our website, click on the conference page, you'll see the conference schedule, you see the quality of speakers we have gathered. In fact, someone called me yesterday and said, Dr. Emo, this year's conference, we have put together a lineup of speakers that are industry experts. So please, I want to encourage you, if you have not registered for the conference, do so, jump upon the opportunity, and you'll be glad that you did. All right. Our next learning session will be on the 10th of August, which will be the next pre-conference masterclass. Watch out for the flyer, watch out for other details, and please ensure that you are active on the WhatsApp platform. Ask your questions, generate conversations. As we always say in HRP, continuous learning is our DNA. And in HRP, we pride ourselves as a tribe of shameless learners who are committed and dedicated to continuous reskilling and upskilling. So I'd like to thank Dr. Adeosun for this impactful session. I will personally go back and digest the slides when I get them. And please, slides are only sent to those who pay for certificates. I think I've said that over and over again in a lot of our learning programs. Slides are only sent to those who pay for certificates. So, Oluyemi, back to you as you close the session.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for the announcement and all the information. So thank you, everyone. Your attendance, like we already said, is captured. So you can register, you click on the link in the chat box, you can check. The conference link is in the chat box and the certificate link is in the chat box. So thank you once again and have a fantastic weekend. Bye.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.